stress is entered on a search engine such as Google, several results pop up. How to manage it, how to diagnose yourself with chronic stress, how to prevent getting stressed. Witty catchphrases, such as "don't let stress hijack your life," are attached to self-help websites and books. I walked into the counselor's office the other day, and the table in the waiting area was simply piled with books offering advice on stress. If these books are to be believed, stress causes everything from the mildest headaches to cardiovascular disease. Just like any other high school student, I've noticed that stress has become second nature to us. I'm sure you've all seen those students with their large cups of coffee struggling to stay awake as they wait in trepidation for whatever exam they need to take next. Our response to an everyday "how are you" is to complain, "I'm exhausted." My friend went into the nurse's office last week complaining about a headache, and the nurse's first question to her was to ask her whether she was stressed. When my friend said yes, the nurse immediately knew she was a high school junior. Why? Because stress is our most frequent complaint. So how does one stop tearing their hair off their head in frustration? How does one cope? I have an answer, or rather your bodies do. Over the years, our bodies have evolved several responses to both short-term and long-term stress. In fact, studies and surveys suggest that the main battle to be fought concerning stress is simply our perception of it. So what is stress? The American Psychological Association defines it as the pattern of specific and non-specific responses an organism makes in response to stimulus events that either disturb its equilibrium or tax or exceed its ability to cope. It's a simple, concise definition. But what does it really tell us? Our stress response has evolved over the years, but it has existed since our days as hunters and gatherers. So why do we dread this idea of stress today? Why are all the lists of best-selling books dominated by books offering advice on stress? Laugh if you will, but there are studies and surveys, such as the one conducted by the University of Wisconsin-Madison, that Kelly McGonigal explored in her TED Talk, that suggests that people who view stress as the big bad wolf have a higher chance of dying sooner compared to people who view stress as a motivating force. Our stress response has been a part of our biological response for centuries. When our brain perceives an environmental stress, such as a danger or a threat, our cells and our nervous and endocrine systems work closely together to prepare our body for action. Imagine you're in a race against 50 other people. Ordinarily, you might run a distance of 5 kilometers in 25 minutes. But your body views the situation as an all or nothing scenario. You push yourself both mentally and physically because of your body. The combination of reactions to this stress is known as your fight or flight response. So what really happens as you sprint through that race? Your adrenaline glands produce higher levels of cortisol, which prompts the release of adrenaline to your bloodstream. This travels its way to your heart, which then increases its rate of pumping oxygen through your body. The oxygen travels up to your brain, serving to wake you up and energize you. Your body is literally providing you with a way to rise to the occasion. You might cut down 2, even 3 minutes of your time by the end of this race. But what's more interesting is your body's ability to regulate itself. As you pass through that finish line, your brain perceives the danger as having passed. Your levels of cortisol subside, and your blood pressure goes back down. But what happens when you have a constant fear? That cold fear of failing a never-ending series of tests is very different from a short adrenaline response before your race. The persistent surges of adrenaline through your bloodstream can cause damage to your blood vessels and to your arteries. Since your blood pressure never subsides back down, it increases your risk of anxiety, depression, and heart disease. Interestingly enough, a study conducted by Penn State University, just like Wisconsin-Madison, examined the relationship between stressful happenings in everyday life and its relationship with the health and conditions of people 10 years down the line. The conclusions of the study, contrary to popular belief, suggest that rather than whatever is causing your stress, it is in fact your perception of it that affects your health. David Almeida, leader of the study, sums up his findings in the quote, "I like to think of people as being one of 2 types, Velcro and Teflon. With Velcro people, when anything stressful happens to them, they moan and complain on it for days on end. With Teflon people, it slides right off. It's the Velcro people who end up suffering health consequences down the road. Several doctors prescribe this Teflon approach to life through yoga, meditation, even visualization of tranquil scenes. So how do you switch to this mentality? I'd like you all to take your phones out, place it on your palm, and reach your arm out forward. The mass of your phone is fairly light, but as you keep your arm stretched out for an extended period of time, your arm may begin to ache. The longer you keep it up, it continues to ache. But the moment you put your phone back down, it subsides. Your phone is your bundle of stress. As you continue to think on it, it takes its toll on your health. But the moment you leave it alone, it goes away. So the next time you're under a high-stress situation, relax, take a deep breath, and don't panic. Your body's here to help you.